A wild edible plant that grows in the suburbs has the same nutritional value as a wild edible plant that grows out into the wild. So there you go. One of the things that I like to do is just kind of make a mental note, or you can even draw out a map of different places on your property where different type of edible plants are growing. So I know in the back corner of the yard here, there's tons of violet growing. And then I know that around the different trees, I got garlic growing. And along the fence line, I got the violet and the dandelion growing there. And just like at my place in the suburbs, I also have places of reference where I know that there's going to be edible and medicinal plants. Right here, it's a big old cherry tree up by my wood pile. And there's a number of different plants that I know grow there. All along the property line, I got dandelion and wild violet growing. And here along the edge of the wood line, I got some dandelion growing. And along the side of the house, I got some dandelion and violet. And under the trees, I got lots of dandelion growing as well. It's early spring, so there's not much growth yet, but they're popping up. There's a really nice batch of wild garlic growing in the flower bed. Whether I'm on that small lot or it's a fraction of an acre, or I got the bigger section here on my property, you know, I know that there's going to be those plants growing because I don't spray or anything like that here. So I know that stuff's going to be growing. And taking walks and stuff, I've seen tons of that stuff growing in my hayfield. Along the back corner, I know that there's a patch by one of the trees by the fence. Nice patch of dandelion, wild garlic. So I just keep that in mind. And when you harvest the stuff, unless you're going for the root, with the garlic you're gonna have to pull the whole plant up. But with dandelion, you just pull a couple of leaves. You don't want to pull the whole plant. You can rinse them off. A little bit of dirt, I don't mind. And there's tons of violet here. To get you some good field guides, I recommend a couple different kinds. Some field guides have great pictures, but the descriptions aren't that good. And others have not that good of pictures, but the descriptions are great. So I like to have several just to bounce off of each other. And all around the cherry tree, I got wild garlic. It has the same nutritional value as growing in the suburbs. And you just kind of move along. I got some chickweed. I haven't seen that at the place there in the suburbs, but it grows in that area as well. And move along the tree. I got yarrow. And that's a good one. Whenever I cut myself, I use that to stop bleeding. As long as it's nothing major. Small cuts, it works great. There's going to be different plants growing in the woods versus what's going to grow in an open meadow, an open field, or in your backyard. Generally, whenever you have a lot of canopy and not much sunlight gets down, you're going to have less plants. So if you're looking for certain plants, you might want to start on the edge of the wood line or in the meadow or in your yard more so than in the woods. Although there are a lot that do grow in the middle of the woods, just not as many, depending on how thick the canopy cover is. Just don't discredit, don't get down on yourself that you have to be in the national forest or someplace like that to learn all this stuff. So just practice. I was living in Virginia Beach at the time when I was studying a lot of this stuff when I was in the Navy, and you know, I was renting a place, so I was limited on what I could do, but I read and I read as much as I could. And I didn't have the internet back then, and this was like early 2000s, early and mid 2000s, and I only had access to the internet occasionally. So I just read books and attended some courses. I learned that way, and I found that it was easier for me to learn, for me personally, easier to learn that way than what it was watching videos. I don't want to discount YouTube videos, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but just, you know, a lot of people look to YouTube as this magic pill, whether it's homesteading, survival, what have you, is this magic pill to, you know, this wealth of knowledge. Now, caveat to that, if, I bust the mirror off of my truck and I need to put a new mirror on, I'm not going to buy a book on how to put the mirror on. I am going to go on the internet, just something quick, just to look that up. The internet is great for that because that's kind of like a one-time deal. It doesn't really have to be that in-depth of knowledge for that. But if you're serious about homesteading and fieldcraft and things like that, just the internet is a supplement. It shouldn't be your main source of learning.